Gran Turismo 7 leaderboards are getting more and more competitive day by day. Sometimes it may feel impossible to find improvement in your lap times in Gran Turismo 7 when you go into time trial. But what if I told you there's a way how you can set up the ghosts to unlock almost a full second out of your time trial lap? Over the past few months, I've been able to use this 6-step framework to help me use the ghosts to break into the top 100 times in the world for every daily race leaderboard. And today, I want to show it to you. So if you want to improve your pace and get better lap times on time trial, stick around. I got a good one for you. So Gran Turismo has something very distinctive compared to other sims, and it is that it allows you to use a ghost as a reference when you go into the time trial mode. Essentially, this ghost replicates exactly the way how the best drivers in the world put their lap times on that particular combo. So it helps for you to have a real-time, on-track reference that you can use to improve your own lap times. But how you use it matters a lot in terms of how you want to improve that lap time and how you want to learn the best out of that track. Some drivers would use the ghost of another driver to try to compete against it and see if they can beat it. Some other drivers would try to just put that ghost far away in the distance so that they have something to chase and track. In fact, some other drivers even like to compete against their own best lap ghost so that they can find points of improvement based on their previous performance. But I have a much better way how you can optimize the ghost usage to unlock even more time if you're struggling to find any more pace. So the first thing that you want to do before you start any driving is that you want to study a reference. What you're trying to figure out is how the top drivers in the world approach every combo so that they understand which racing lines to take, how to brake every corner, how to turn into every corner, all the different entry and exit speeds, gearing, and all the different other elements that compose a perfect lap. The way how you would do this is that you would go into the leaderboards and you would find the replay of the fastest driver on the car that you want to use for this particular combo. You would go and then use all the different playback elements of the replay, considering the pause, the play, and the single frame skip elements so that you can understand where drivers are actually braking and you can associate every braking point with a reference on the track that you could use for your own lap. In most cases, you'll be very surprised to see that the obvious references that one would consider on the track aren't actually the references that most top drivers would use. Sometimes they would go a little bit beyond a braking reference, or even sometimes a little bit earlier than a braking reference. And the perception of space that you think you have to take to brake into a corner could be actually very skewed compared to how you see it on the track. So it's important that you take your time to review every single braking reference in detail so that you can see exactly how the top drivers are braking into every corner, and you can take something that you can relate to when you apply it to your own drive. So once you feel comfortable with the understanding of how to drive the track based on the reference from the top drivers, you can proceed with step 2, which is go and don't use a ghost. And I know, it sounds a little counterintuitive for a ghost video, but there's a science to this. Stay with me now. Before you want to get any ghosts on the track so that you can follow it, you first need to make sure that you, by yourself, get familiar with the combo that you're driving at. Where their strengths and weaknesses lie, some cars may be faster on straight lines but tougher on cornering, and some other cars might be the opposite. So you want to make sure that you get a good understanding of the car that you're trying to use so that you get familiar with how to take different lines and how to adapt yourself to the track. And to avoid deviating your focus from that element, that's why you want to have the ghost turned off for this step. You want to build that by yourself. You want to build some sense of familiarity by yourself with the track before you have any ghosts to focus on and follow. While you're doing this, the only thing that you want to focus is just about consistency. This is the key for you to build that familiarity with the track. So what you just want to do is don't push it too hard. Just try to go through the lap. Even if you have to go a little bit slower in some corners, or you have to take wider lines, or you just have to not put as much throttle and power up into the car as you would wish, just try to build that sense of consistency. Try to aim for consistent lap times over a 5, 6, or 7 lap stint. And once you start finding that you can grind that consistency more and more and more, at that point you can start pushing a little bit further to see if you can actually get a much better lap by the end of that run. It will also help you process different ways of how you can take different corners. Perhaps you can use different gearing. You can maybe downshift a little bit more into some corners and go down to first or second gear, or maybe you don't have to downshift at all. You can try different approaches just to see what works best for you compared to how you saw it in your reference lap, and make sure that you find something comfortable to drive with. Remember, you're not trying to do the exact same lap the exact same way. You're trying to do the lap that's comfortable for you, but that is still fast and competitive. So you want to try to imitate as much as closely of that reference lap, but still put that element that makes it your own lap. Now, before we jump into the next step, I just want to ask a quick favor from you. The channel is growing really fast and we already made it to 200 subscribers so far. So if you're really enjoying the content that I'm dropping out for you, I just want to ask you to drop a like in this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, let me know in the comments below how you actually use the Ghost before I get you step 3. Quick sip of water while you're subscribing actually. So, once you've done a couple laps on the track by yourself, this is the time where we jump into step 3 and we finally activate the Ghost at 0.1 seconds of an offset. Now, you might be thinking 0.1 seconds is actually very close and could be very distracting, but that's kind of the whole idea as well. It allows you to now challenge your brain into putting into practice everything that you learned from watching your reference and studying it, and the way how you got familiar with the track itself, so that you can test whether you got everything right the first time that you went on the track by yourself. In this point, you're trying to test yourself whether you're braking at the exact times that you should, or whether you're actually overshooting or undershooting your braking points. It also tells you whether you're getting a little bit too early on the throttle on corner exits, or whether you're actually delaying your exit way too much. It also allows you to see whether you're actually positioning the car in the apexes as you should. Perhaps you might not be using the whole track width as you should to optimize your lap times, and having the Ghost at 0.1 seconds would allow you to do that. The way how you want to go about this is you would go into the Ghost settings and you would put the Ghost settings at 0.1 seconds offset, and you would reset the Ghost by sector. This way, every time that you finish a sector on the track, the Ghost would actually go back and reset to 0.1 seconds rather than just flying away at the distance. At first, it could become a little bit confusing and daunting, because you'll have a Ghost right there, right in front of you, which doesn't allow you to fully process where you have to brake and how you have to take different corners. But again, it's that mental challenge for you to think a little bit differently and assess more in real time whether you're actually taking the corners in the right way. You might notice in some instances that the Ghost is actually pulling away from you on corner exits, which means that you could actually hit the throttle a little bit earlier so that you don't lose too much time on corner exit. But also, you could see that perhaps you're going way past the Ghost when you're entering the corner and braking way too late, which tells you that you should pull your brakes a little bit earlier so that you slow the car down enough and you can take a proper racing line into the corner, hit the apex that you need to hit, and then align your car for corner exit the right way. Doing this a couple times will allow you to see whether you're actually taking the right racing lines and the right braking and accelerating references for corner entry and exit. And you might find that after a few goes, your time actually starts improving. Perhaps by this point, you might have been able to cut your time by 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And this is because by this point, you're actually starting to relearn how you process the information that you saw in the previous steps, and you're putting it back into practice, but now improving it becomes more of a muscle memory or a second nature very early on because you already did it before. It's now just about fine-tuning. Now, you studied your reference, did the track on your own, and put the Ghost to the test to see if you could match it as closely as you could. It is time now to put that to the race test. And this is because you don't just want to focus on time trialing the whole time. At the end of the day, you're here to race. You want to make sure that by this point, all the information that you just learned and started practicing on can be applied and adapted up to a race. Because remember, in time trial, you're just up by yourself, and the conditions are set to be static and not changing. You don't have any tire wear, you don't have any other cars around you that would make you change your racing lines or adapt your braking points, and you're not going to have a Ghost right in front of you that will guide you on how to do the perfect lap. You're probably going to have people that are going to be slower compared to that world record, but still are going to be racing aggressively against you and trying to make moves. So you need to readapt your pace so that you can match it and you can feel comfortable by the way how you race. not just by how you time trial. So normally, by this point, I would just go into a couple races, maybe 2 or 3, to make sure that I feel comfortable racing with that pace. And perhaps during the race, I'm able to find more opportunities to unlock more time that I can then use and replicate on the time trial when I get off the race. It's more about, again, keeping the consistency. Because once again, you're going to have a lot of other stuff within the race that are going to deviate you from the perfect lap that you can put. You're going to have cars around you that you need to adjust to. You have to readapt the space of your car and the sense of awareness that you have around the track, given the fact that you're now in a competitive race space. And don't get too flustered. It's a race in the end, and perhaps by this point you haven't done that many races yet. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to overshoot certain corners. It's okay to take the wrong racing lines every now and then. But the most important thing is that you keep going and you keep pushing. Do not tend to quit or live under the expectation that because you put a lap in the time trial, you have to exactly imitate that lap. Remember, conditions are different between the time trial and the race, so you need to make sure that you feel confident and comfortable to perform under different conditions, and that all the information that you learned throughout the way up to this point, you can feel confident that you can apply it on the track in a race setting. So by this point, you've learned so much about the track and car combo that you have at your disposal. Now, the best way of honing all that information in is to extend the goes to 0.2 seconds. And the key between 0.2 seconds is that it is not too far away to have the goes go into the distance, but also it is not too close to become distracting when you have to take corners. It still serves as a good reference so that you can check whether you're gaining or losing time into specific corners or whether you're taking the right racing lines. This is going to be the moment where you really start honing into the fine-tuned details of your racing lines and the way how you approach corner entries and exits. And once you start nailing into this information much more quickly, and with all the information that you already processed from the previous steps, I am pretty sure that you will find that it is a lot easier to execute the lap by this point. Even in some cases, on your first try, you might already see some small improvements. Now you have all the tools at your disposal. Now you know what you need to do to hone into the perfect lap for your level and for your skill set. It's now time to go full push. And for this, you just have to keep the goes exactly where it is and just try to push as hard as you can to see how much you can improve and cut your lap time. Usually it will take a couple iterations, and more than likely you're gonna make a couple mistakes around the time. But I can guarantee you, the more you do it, the better you become at it, and the better you become at it, the more time you tend to cut. And sooner rather than later, you'll see that you're already gaining so much time out of your laps, and you're slowly scaling up into the leaderboards. And don't worry, the process of trying to put the perfect lap together, it's not a straightforward one. It's never linear, it never happens overnight, and it takes a lot of retries to go through it. The main focus is for you to stay patient and just let the time come to you. Use all these tools and tips to enhance your experience of how you improve your lap times and become better at driving at certain tracks or with certain car combos. But don't forget, mistakes are part of the journey too. And the important thing is that you keep the consistency and you keep persevering towards how better you want to become at sim racing. So if you have found this helpful, make sure to stay tuned within the channel, subscribe and drop a like in here. And in the meantime, go check out some of my latest races right here.